Action.
I do remember that moment being on a stage and being like, oh, this is everything, right? I think I was like 9 or 10. You can hear the audience and you could feel the energy, but you can't really see them because like the lights are in your face. That's the moment I remember feeling that like adrenaline of being on stage. So that was that moment. Filmmaking took a bit longer, but I think the seed was planted very, very, very early on.
You've chosen to go through the school, you did the acting just to realize that your true passion lies behind the camera.
I remember that moment, like your identity, you're like, oh wait, but I've always been an actor. This is so weird that it even took a moment to say, no, I am a writer and director.
That really is something to celebrate, that you had this trust in what you feel and you followed through on that path. And now you're creating those beautiful, resonating work.
Coming from this mindset of that there's a lack of opportunity, it's about finding the opportunity and creating the opportunity by coming together.
That's what we believe in, the both of us, is uplifting each other, creating opportunities together.
All of this that I experienced really has made me a better writer, a better director. That foundation of understanding character, not just understanding it here, but here and in your gut.
Like this.
Action. Okay, you guys. Today we are joined by Jessica Silvetti, and she's a writer and director, and also a co-founder of Light and Shadow Pictures company. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very happy to have you with us. And I want to start by asking about your childhood. You are Mexican born, and you early transitioned to the US. And I wanted to ask you, because you shared with us privately that transition actually shaped you as a person and also as a filmmaker, I guess. So can you tell us a little bit about this, when it happened, how was it?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm happy to be here talking with you both. So yes, I was born in Mexico City, so I'm fully bilingual. My first language is Spanish. And as you mentioned, moving to the US as a kid, I didn't speak the language, so I had to learn it when I came here. And, you know, that definitely, it's one of those situations, sink or swim. You're thrown into school, you're trying to figure it out, but it's kind of sometimes the best way to learn something. So yeah, of course it had its challenges, it had its moments of, you know, completely feeling like a fish out of water, like an outsider. You can't really communicate with people. I mean, you do eventually, and as a kid, you pick it up a lot faster, I think, than you know, as an adult. But yeah, it definitely shaped me. I think I was also very shy at that point, which didn't help. But I think those things help you when you're older. Any adversity that you encounter. Also, when you're very shy, you listen very well. You pay attention. So I feel all those experiences have, yeah, definitely informed the kind of stories I like to tell, and my focus on character and what I do now as a writer and director. I think it definitely has shaped me.
And where you moved in the US?
Yeah, so we moved to Los Angeles. My grandfather was in the music business, and he, you know, I was raised with my mom and my grandparents. So yeah, his business like brought us here, and he was a well-regarded Latino like music composer, and he did a lot of arranging, and also you know, excuse me, and music producer. And yeah, so we moved to Los Angeles, and that's where I began my journey. I think being surrounded by a house full of artists, because I have an aunt who's an actress, and my mom was in production, and my grandmother was a lyricist. So I think, then people like artists would come over to the house. So growing up with that, I was immediately attracted to being in the arts. And as I mentioned, I was really shy, but I found my voice as an actor. And that's kind of how I began breaking out of my shell.
It's interesting that you're so shy, and yet you start with acting. Like, which is like in front of everyone. You have to, which is amazing. I highly recommend it to everyone, because I coach also. I'm an actress myself, and I coach actors and entrepreneurs, to be honest. And it's one of the best things. Like, if you want to get out of your comfort zone and really explore it, it is. But it's not easy. And I think it's. When did you, like? Do you remember the first time you felt like, this is what I want, like filmmaking is mine? Do you remember that moment?
So funny enough, the first thing that comes to mind when you said, when do you remember this moment? I thought you were going to ask me with acting, right? And I do remember that moment being on a stage and being like, oh, this is everything, right? I think I was like 9 or 10, and it was actually a dance we were performing. And I just remember, like, the lights are, you can hear the audience, and you can feel the energy, but you can't really see them because, like, the lights are in your face. And it was that moment, and I don't know, there was probably like 25, 30 kids on stage, and it wasn't a school thing. It was like I was part of like a dance class outside of school, and we had this big performance, and that's the moment I remember feeling that, like, adrenaline of being on stage. So that was that moment. Filmmaking, that took a bit longer, and I might have mentioned this the first time we spoke. I think part of it was when I was very serious. I would even ask my mom, I want to quit school. I want to be an actor. And she was like, no, that's just not going to happen. Like, she's like, if you want to, yeah. She's like, no. She's like, if you want to continue, like, I'll take you to classes. You can, perform, do all these things, like do the dance class, I took tap. I'm not a tap dancer, but I really loved it. I just tried a different, like, different kinds of dance and musicals and this and the other. But I did commit to it, and I continued. And then she saw I was serious about it. So I applied to Tisch School of the Arts at NYU, and I got in. So my family did support me on my journey to becoming, an actor, a performer. And I was always writing, though. I was writing poetry. I was writing little plays. And all those things led into later on realizing this. And to go back a little bit, I did tell you, my mom also gifted me my first camera when I was 11 years old. And I would do these little, like, films for fun with my friends, with, like, my younger family members. But I never, and even though I was the one behind the camera, I never thought, oh, I'm going to be a director, because it wasn't something I really saw or thought of. So I thought my path to be that storyteller, like as a girl, as a young woman, and as a woman, was, okay, I'm going to be an actor. That's how I'll get to say it. That's how I'll get to, be this, be on this journey.
I have a question to this end, because, recently we were getting people who kind of were not from creative families at all. And so their struggle was that they couldn't kind of explain to their families what they want to do, because, the family, they couldn't understand this natural inclination towards art, towards creativity. And that's fascinating that you have your family who, your mother gave you the camera early on. How was it? Was it the supportive environment? Were you nurtured into it? What were those pathways that you had to go through? Because I guess even if they were supported, still your mother suggested that you had to stay in the school and everything. So it was a mix of both, maybe.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that they had lived and still lived through the struggle that it is. I mean, being an artist, I think it's a way of life. It's not just, yes, if you get the opportunities, like, they say luck is opportunity meeting preparedness. So,
Very true.
yeah. So I think if you get that, and you have a lifelong career, then that makes, financial things much easier. But I do think that every artist has had huge moments of struggle and probably throughout their career path. So I think, my mom had definitely lived that. My grandfather too, even though he he did become very successful in the Latin music world, he still had struggle. And I remember being a child and witnessing that, and like his like discipline and his way, like his mantra, really, like that's something I have really embraced, and his words have always stayed with me. And I think that's what's given me, like, whenever there's, because we all have a moments of, oh man, this is really difficult right now, or I don't know what's going to happen. It's like his voice is in my head, like, just like, you got to stick with it, like, have faith. Like, and I saw those moments and those dips and challenges. So nurturing environment, absolutely, but very open about how
So they were
difficult it is.
cautioning you as well. They were saying that, that's...
Yeah,
This is-
absolutely. It wasn't sugar coated at all. Yeah.
Which is beautiful, and that's a healthy way to see it. But you talked about, I really want to ask you, you said, what was your grandpa's mantra?
So, I mean, he always basically, he would say, like, you have to be like a horse with like blinders, just keep on the path. So I always envision that. And it didn't mean like, don't be aware of other things, but it's that like determination, like, like, when a horse is like this, it only sees that one path. It only sees that one path. And it was that. And that's not to say that through his career, he didn't do, things that maybe weren't exactly the music he wanted to do, or like he started as a pianist, actually in a jazz music. He was from Argentina, and he took he had an opportunity to get on a boat and go to Spain, and he was actually hired to be like a folklorico, a folkloric dancer on the boat. But he took the opportunity. Yeah,
Grandpa,
just like to do like,
we're celebrating you here. Hey, I love it.
but it wasn't like it was like, like traditional, like folkloric dancing.
Folkloric, yeah.
Yeah. So it was that, but he was like, okay, this is a way for me to do that. So it was still part of, and that was when he was, very young, but it was still part of that, like, okay, this is going to get me to that, and then that's going to get me to that. And that's very early on. And then in Spain, he was playing at like bars and jazz bars and this and the other. And that's, where he met my grandmother. And anyway, a big journey that, like, that's a whole other wonderful and very long and big story. But they're moving around so much. His determination to be seeking what he always dreamed of, because it was his passion and what drove him and what his purpose and what fulfilled him and like lit his spirit, is something that I get emotional, but like it
lives in you as well.
Yeah.
It's making me emotional, because I think that's the most beautiful thing. Having someone in your life that shows you that is possible. And
Yes.
It's not that he is saying like it's easy and just dream and it's gonna, become real or anything. But he took the steps every day and he didn't give up.
Oh,
and as
no.
he said to you, like, he had the blinders, like when he knew there was something he was honing in on, he honed in on it and stuck with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he became successful. Like, that's what he made his living as, and he worked as a musician, composer, arranger, and music producer for the rest of his life. That's what he did.
Wow. Okay. From this to drama school at NYU Tisch school, which is wow.
Yeah, wow, girl. Just we want to celebrate that. Woo, woo. Yeah, I mean.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely like a dream school for me. So when I was 11, it was my first time in New York City, and I was like, oh my God, I want to live here. And again, I said that to my mom, I'm like, I want to live here. And she's like, okay, sure. And then after, like, you know, when you're in high school here in the US, like your junior year, you start applying to schools. And I mean, I got pretty decent grades. I wasn't the best in math. So that was always a struggle with, like, I mean, I don't know different school systems, but here, like the GPA, so that always kind of like dipped my GPA a bit. But I was like in other AP courses and honor courses and like literature, and you know, so I was like pretty good. But that was difficult for me, and my advisor kind of even like, to be honest, kind of laughed, was like, oh, NYU, ha ha ha, like he's like, that's your reach school. So that was a little disheartening, but I was like, I don't care what he says. Like, I'm applying, like I did apply to other schools too, but I was like, that's where I want to go. And their program, if you go for the acting program, is it's academic but conservatory as well, where they mesh both. So your grades and your GPA count, but your audition is like 50%. So you know, I got in, which was incredible. So I did, you know, I showed him my advice.
I wanted to say that.
I got it. I got it.
I was like,
yeah.
Like, you showed him, girl.
Yeah. So that was wonderful. And I was so excited to go to New York and live there. And it's kind of like one of the best ways to get to know that city, right? As a student, and there's all these like freshmen who are in the same experience as you, and yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Do you have some sort of sorority there?
No,
I watched so many movies. I didn't know anything.
We want to hear it all. Hello, we want to all the juicy stories.
You know,
what I meant to ask you is, how was
Yeah,
the
go for it.
auditioning process, of course, but my curiosity took the best.
Yeah, no. Look, I think maybe they had a sorority. I was not interested in that. Also, the campus there is not traditional. It's not like your typical closed campus where they have like the sorority houses and all that. Like the city is your school. Like you're literally like Washington Square Park is kind of like, there's NYU buildings all over. But then I remember my first day of, we called it studio, was where you went to your acting class. And me and my friend who happened to live down the hall from me in my dorm, we were in the same studio, which was amazing. And our first day walking to studio, we got lost, and it was not complicated at all. But like, it was on Broadway, which we're like, oh my God, our studio's on Broadway. But like, in Lower Manhattan, like, you know, like it was like 19th Street and Broadway, and we couldn't find it because, so I don't know if you've been to New York, but there's Union Square Park, and then it divides, and it divides how you get to Broadway, and we were very confused. So we were like, and I'll never forget that, you know, because after that you learn the city, and you're like, oh my, how did I get confused? But no sororities, nothing like that. I just loved the city, exploring the city, and they kept us pretty busy, to be honest, between like the academic and the conservatory. A lot of kids had like Fridays off. I was like, we never had Fridays off. It was like you had studio, it was all day long. You know, and then once you did a show, like on weekends, you'd be rehearsing. So I was like, there's no time for, so I mean, don't get me wrong, like I definitely like partied with my friends and like we went out, but like that idea of like I don't go to school on Fridays, or I have my weekends, and no, nothing like that. It was very focused.
Busy.
Yeah, it was busy.
How was the admission process?
The admission
Yeah, we
process?
wanted to ask that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like any other college application process, you know, you write your essays, you submit your application, all that. I do remember, I still remember. I mean, I can recite it to you, but what my admissions essay was about, like, you know, Les Miserables, the song "I Dreamed a Dream." I wrote my essay about that, I was like, I don't remember, but somehow I tied it in. I was like, and that was that. And then you had to fly to New York so at that point, my family had moved to Miami. So yes, LA for a while, then I moved to Miami, which in a way was better because if I was going to go to New York, it was like a 2.5 hour flight. So my mom was happier about that, like it wasn't like when we used to live in LA and having, to go across the country. But so my mom came with me to the audition. We left that morning. I had to miss school because it was during the week. We flew up to New York. So like the Tisch building, 721 Broadway, and there's Astor Places right near it, and there's a Starbucks there. And I remember like we got there and we waited at the Starbucks for a while, and then we went like from the airport, we went directly, and then we went to 721 Broadway, and they had us in like this lobby. I think it was on the 3rd floor. And they told us what the process would be like, and they gave us each like our time. So I think I still had time in between. So we went back to the Starbucks. I think it was chilly. I don't remember. I think it was like early spring or late winter. So it was cold. And at that moment, coming from Miami, it was like, it's a little chilly. But yeah, so then I auditioned, and I remember it was just, I went in, it was me and like two, like, I guess you'd call them like deans of admissions at the school. And you had to prepare 2 monologues. So you went in, you talked to them for a second, and you had to prepare your dramatic and your comedic monologue. And I went in, and my aunt, who's an actress, helped me train for that. So I was very grateful for her because this was like my first audition. Besides being in school, it felt very serious and professional, and and yeah. And then after I auditioned, my mom and I took a cab back to the airport, and we flew back to Miami. And so it was the same day. We didn't even stay. We just like flew up. We did the audition, came back, and then I just had to wait to
they
hear.
didn't tell you straight away. It's
No,
like a
you had
normal
to
audition.
wait. You had to wait to be, to see if you were admitted, to their drama program, because I graduated with a BFA in drama, and to the school.
When did the transition happen to you being then behind the camera? Because now you audition as an actress, and you're in this amazing school as an actor, but now you're a fantastic director, writer, producer. I mean, even have your own production company. When did that transition happen?
Yeah, thanks. It happened, later, much later, but I think the seed was planted very, very, very early on. But for me, I think my journey was needing to, all of this that I experienced really has made me a better writer, a better director. That foundation of understanding character, not just understanding it here, but here, and in your gut, in your stomach, right? I'll definitely answer your question, but just to go to that, like when I'm directing, I need to feel it. That's why I still feel like it's very much like I'm in it, and yes, of course you're here, and you're like, there's all these moving pieces, and you're paying attention to all that. But when that camera is rolling, when the actors are on, you feel it. I mean, of course you could say, well, anyone can feel, but like there's something like just visceral, like, I don't know, there's that other instrument. Yeah, that instrument different. You've trained so long, right? You're like, and then to speak to an actor, and like when you're maybe like just making small adjustments, or it's like in the right, like it's just a really great way to have that conversation. But the transition, I think, happened. I stayed in New York for a little bit, and then, I'm not a singer. Like, yes, I love singing, but I was like, I don't sing musicals, like it's going to be difficult here. And I was doing some theater, and actually I had done a lot of short films. Like in school, there's a wonderful film school there too. And I became friends with a lot of the film students. So I would do their shorts as an actor, but I was always watching. I was always paying attention. I was always really interested in all like the different aspects. I wasn't just there to like do my part. I was like, okay, cool. Oh, okay, I'm watching this, I'm watching that. And in my mind for a moment, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should transfer. Maybe I should, you know, let's think about this. But since I was always writing after my sophomore year, I actually went to my advisor at Tisch, and I said, "Oh, I think I want to double major," but I didn't say film. I said in dramatic writing. This advisor was much more warm, and he didn't say no. He said, "Okay, we could talk about how you do that, but just know that it's very difficult to do it with the conservatory academic program you're in. You need to add another 2 years of school. You won't be able to like do it." I was already a sophomore, so they were like, "You're going to need to like do basically 6 full years of school." And I was like, "Ooh, okay." Yeah, I was like, well, one, that's expensive. It's an expensive school. Another thing was, just that actor part of me. I was like, oh, I want to get out and audition though. I don't want to be. So I decided not to. But when that moment happened, I did for a moment think, should I do film school or dramatic writing? And since I was writing more, I was like, I'll do the dramatic writing. But I didn't end up doing either. I just stuck with drama. I graduated and I kept writing on my own. And when I moved back to LA, because I was like, I'm going to focus on film and television, I then started like making my own shorts because I was writing where I was like, I'm going to make my first short and produce that. Okay, so I wrote it, I produced it, I acted in it. And then after that, I was like, I'm going to make something else. And then with a group of friends, we co-directed a very silly documentary about dating in Los Angeles. It was very, very silly. We'd go around and interview people. And then with my now husband, we also collaborated and we made a short film that then ended up being like a faux documentary, but it's not comedic, it's dramatic. It was meant to be a short. We were meant to be actors in it because we were frustrated that, we wanted to be acting more in front of the camera. And we made this film and it ended up being 84 minutes. Wow. So that process was like a crash course in film school for ourselves because we literally did everything. We held the booms, we taped the booms, we did all the lighting with practical lighting. We just did everything. So I think that was really the turning point. I was like, no, this is more me. So it took me a while to like get there and see it, but I don't regret it because like I just feel like every step I've taken until now just feeds you as an artist and makes you, just stronger or better.
Sounds like your grandpa. I just
yes.
And I would love to ask you about your work now, like because we were going through your everything you've done, and I was then watching what I could find, and wow, like what I didn't write down is like it is so your work, it's so intense, emotional. It's so, when it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and but then it can feel so bad. It feels like I'm watching something I shouldn't be watching, and I feel like I feel sick, and I'm like, I feel like I have to save them. And there was such an emotional roller coaster watching your work. I was like, wow. And there's one that I want to talk to you about. I mean, wow. You are writer, director. I mean, wow, beautiful work. Congratulations. And there I want to ask you about lost memories. You explore Alzheimer in the Latino community. And I want to ask you, like, what drew you personally to the story? And how did you decide that that the bilingual storytelling was the right form for it?
Yeah, so Lost Memories, exactly. It's as you said, that came to me. I wrote and directed, but I was a work for hire. So I was hired. So the organization Alzheimer's Los Angeles, they had some like staff members that do outreach, and they were like, how do we connect to the Latino community that's a bit hesitant to I don't want to stereotype, but there is some like hesitancy, and I'll say it superstition of like, oh, if I go to the doctor, they're going to tell me this, and then it's going to make this real, or the idea of like some of the things, like some memory loss, thinking like, oh, that's just old age, but a lot of it, when you dig in, it's not. There are different kinds of dementia, Alzheimer's. So a friend of mine, they were looking for someone bilingual. Well, they were looking for a writer and a director, and then, my friend told me about it. I'm like, I want to meet with them. So I went to meet with them. I said, I do both. I'm bilingual and I write and direct. So I pitched them my idea of what it would be. All I knew is they wanted it to be a family, and that the grandmother, is the one that gets this diagnosis. So I went in and I told them, okay, this is what I see. And I see, the family, and like, it was just the dynamics of it, and really putting in also like the different responses from each family member. Like there's a mother, father, and a young daughter who's, she's like a high school, like, I don't know if she was like junior or senior, she's older, but so she's still capable of recognizing things that aren't okay with grandma and all that. And the vehicle they wanted it to use, it is educational, but instead of just being like, oh, let's make this a documentary, they wanted to entice the audience. And so they call it a novela, like a telenovela, but it's not. It's like a web series that is narrative, and it's structured, it's all scripted. And what drew me to it was, well, first of all, the story I thought was very sad and beautiful, and also giving more to my own community. Also, my husband's grandmother had, some dementia as well. And then I have quite a few friends who they're mainly, it affects mainly women, which is, it's terrible. So I do have a few friends who have either lost parents, or their mothers have had it. So it didn't affect me directly with like one of my family members, although talking to my mom, I did learn about a great aunt of ours that did have it. But all of those pieces, just in talking to friends, and, whenever I do anything, I really research, whether it is just researching or research by talking with people, and really wanting to capture the authenticity of what something is like. So I guess I just wanted to make sure to do it like service and justice.
Beautiful. Okay. And bilingual, you said that's what they wanted. That was the premise, like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but so it's not a series that like you'll watch and they go from English to Spanish. Like all episodes are in English, and then all of them are in Spanish. But we didn't dub it. We filmed both. We filmed
Really?
Yeah, we filmed both. So so this is interesting. This I actually learned as an actor. So when they wanted to film both, I said, "Oh, I know how to do that." Because I had been an actor. Do you know the hotel Embassy Suites? Have you ever heard of this hotel, Embassy Suites? It's in
LA, you mean?
I think it's around the United States. I'm not sure which states, but I had been like not a spokesperson, but for their internal videos, like training. And as an actor, I had to film it in English and in Spanish. And what we would do is we would film it, and then we do a few takes of the same thing in English, and then cut, and then do it in Spanish. So from that, I said, oh, that's how I can do this. So basically, again, as an actor on set, you just learn all these things. And that's how I executed the production for Lost Memories.
Wow, cool.
And then you were part of the production, and I guess it's the same for you with as with filmmaking. You learn by doing. And you started your own production company, which is very exciting. And tell us why you decided to do that.
Yeah, so I've mentioned my husband a couple of times. My husband, Ethan, he and I started collaborating very early on, and we began Light and Shadow Pictures. Mostly, yes, when you're a filmmaker, you end up producing your own things out of necessity, unless, you have a bigger budget or you have, it can be expensive. So, so that's why we started. So at this point, we don't like produce other people's work. It's more of our own projects that we've written and directed together or separate. But that's how we started, just to have like one place where, we could put our projects under our banner, and who's to say it won't keep growing? Who's to say, we did do an adaptation of a short that we didn't write, but we adapted in film. So yeah, that was one of those projects where we didn't, write and direct it just ourselves, but we did direct it together. And yeah, and under that too, we're working, I think I mentioned a graphic novel, which is like our second one.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer and I was like, wow. I was like, that is so cool. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that came up also as we wanted to do a TV show, like a horror fantasy. And we advanced with this pilot in a few competitions. We were even like a top 10 finalists at, I think it's called Shore Scripts. And then the pandemic hit. Of course, it affected everything. And along with that, like just things halted. So we were like, how do we keep this project going? And a few friends of ours who are filmmakers who had jumped into the graphic novel world said, this is pretty big. You should consider making this a graphic novel, because the world is so big, and just it really will help an audience like see what's in your head. So we were like, we were a little resistant because we also haven't done that medium before. But we did. We decided to do it. We found an amazing artist. He's Italian. He lives in Rome. And we started collaborating with him. So we did our first one in 2022. And now we're working on our second one. And the one thing that we learned that's so interesting about these graphic novels is that people, even like people that are better known, launch on Kickstarter. One is, yes, to help with the funds for making these projects, but also there's a very big audience that wants to back these projects before they're published, before they come out. It's like the beginning. Even Keanu Reeves had a graphic novel on there. There's like really like well-known people that have used Kickstarter to, launch their graphic novels. So we're running our second campaign for the second one. It starts October 8th. It's called Shockheaded Peter. And it's about this young girl, she's a teenager, right? And she lives in this town, Winding Springs, that is full of pretty vile people, to be honest. She's just stuck in this small town where a lot of people are just not very friendly. There's bullies. Again, that theme of being like an outsider. She also has a heart condition. We call her the girl with the literal broken heart, because she's limited by certain things she can do. So she's always been bullied. It's not a town or a place that has handled her with care or compassion. It's actually been quite the opposite. And then it's as if this... all of a sudden, this deranged fairy godmother, Shockheaded Peter, shows up and kind of helps out with the difficulties and challenges she's been having. So that's where the horror fantasy aspect comes, and it's been very fun. We balance the intensity of it with the art. That's very it's not. It has like this magical color lighting to it, which just makes a good balance between the horror and the fantasy. And we're really proud of it. We're excited for it. Thank you. Yeah. And one thing, some people are like, oh, interesting. You're filmmakers. You're doing this and that. Why graphic novel? And I think it's really important to think about owning your IP, owning your intellectual property, right? when you write a script, the moment someone else produces it, like, you don't really have a lot of ownership over your screenplays. I mean, you do. You write it, you know, you could sell it, but once it's made into the world, unless you yourself produce it, direct it, like, it's kind of taken over. So when you first write a short story, a novel, a play, or a graphic novel, you own that property. And that's part of the impetus to say, we're making this because it's our intellectual property. And we do have, you know, dreams and plans to make it into a TV show or a film. But this is the beginning of it.
So this, wow, this is amazing. Thank you. That means this is a way of protecting it, as you,
Yes.
because you have.
Yeah, I mean, and it stands on its own. Like, we, when we're doing this graphic novel, we're not saying like, oh, this is just a side thing. So then to get, it's its own, it's really well thought out. It takes a lot of time. It's, you know, the detail and care that goes into it. So that way it stands on its own. But again, the story, the world we created, everything that's very vast, and we have like a very large arc and story line to, like, we could go for like either a trilogy, a film trilogy, or like, you know, 3 season. We have it all planned out. But yes, this is part of, you know, making sure that we own that property as we create it
as well.
Yeah, no matter like which other medium it might take, like, we'll always be tied to it as being the creators of this.
I'm wondering, do you have, because you work with your husband on a lot of projects, and I guess the company is also, you're doing it together.
Yeah.
So do you have like a clear division of roles, or do you collaborate? And then how do you do that? Because that can be tricky. You know, like sharing a lot of things, like personally with your partner and then creatively as well. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you know, I am always very open about this because, yeah, it can be challenging, of course, but I'll say a couple things. One is, very early on, we began collaborating. We actually had met at an audition as actors, and we got paired to read together for a role, not for a role, as a couple for these roles. We didn't get the part, but we you know,
Got each other.
We got exactly
Win-win.
win-win. And yeah, we don't know if the movie ever got made. We don't know, but here we are. And we started that one short film, the first one I wrote and that I produced. I cast him in it too. So he was like, you know, he was he was my my romantic love interest in it.
Okay,
and
sorry. Girls, you're trying to get a man?
just write a movie and, you know, write a short or something.
Just write a movie, write a short, and cast him as your lover.
I might use that advice.
Sorry, Jessica.
No,
that is so
no.
sweet. I love it. That is the most romantic thing ever.
I mean, we were already together, you know, at that point, but it was early on in our relationship. And I'll say all these things are obviously a test. You know, you're like, okay, we can do this together. We can do that together. And it's not to say like, you know, of course you're going to have moments of friction and moments that you don't agree. And we were talking about this just recently, because right now we're talking to a few people about, you know, the campaign and other projects that we're developing. And people always ask us this, and we don't, you know, we don't make it sound like, oh, it's all dreamy and wonderful. Of course we have moments that if we don't agree on something, we discuss it. But the important thing is that at the end of the day, I think that whatever agreement we come to, it makes it better. It makes the choice better, because I might come up with something that he's like, you know, I don't agree with this because this, or the other, or the other way. He might say something and I say, oh, you know, I don't like that because I think this, and the other. But at the end of the day, either it'll be different than what we both thought at the beginning, and it's just something different and better, or we'll see each other's point and be like, oh, you're right. That needs to be like just expanded, fleshed out more, or this needs to be, but another thing too is sometimes just doing your own projects, and like how we divide. Yeah, we found like how to divide certain, I guess, what's it called? Like specific tasks, I guess. But it's also based on our different skills and strengths, right? Like I don't edit. He's an editor as well. He's a filmmaker and he also edits. So the editing, it's all on him, which I mean, we'll sit together and, you know, like we're working on something together, just like when you're a director working with your editor. But in this case, when he's also, you know, with this, the trailer you saw for the graphic novel, like we're both the creators. So it's not just like me sitting there being like, do this, do that. It's like he'll put something, we talk about it. So I guess those kind of things, and also graphic design. He's good with all those things. My main strengths are writing and directing. You know, I think that's kind of how we balance things out a bit.
We all are just asking because we're jealous.
Oh no.
That's the only reason everyone's always asking you. We're just jealous.
No, some people are like, oh, I tried working with my partner, or, you know, and it was impossible first and last time. And trust me, there are times that we're like, oh, we're not going to do this again. But here we are after I don't know how many projects, and we keep doing it. But I think one nice thing too is like when we do work separately, you know, it's nice too, because it's then like you join to talk about like what's going on with your project and what's going on with yours, and that's nice too. So I think that balance of sometimes just like separating to work on our own thing is also helpful, and has given the longevity of being able to collaborate.
So it's a kind of like, I love you, and now I'm going to do my own project.
Yeah, sometimes we both need that, and I think it's you know, it's healthy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to go like pivot and go to director's fellowship, because that is something that you now this year, it's only 12 of you. This is Alliance of Women Directors.
Yeah,
and
the
they
Alliance
chose, right? Please correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. And you are now one of the 12 selected to be a Mentor Latina Directors Fellowship or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly. Yeah. To shorten it, we just call it the MLD Fellowship. But yes.
Thank you. MLD, I should have said that. I'm like reading it. I'm like, Mentor Latina Director Fellowship. I'm like, okay, am I saying this right?
Yeah, you said it completely right.
I mean, but that is an honor. How did that come about, and what does that mean? And I think it's kick-ass that this exists, to be honest. I just want to say that. I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
when did it start, and what does that mean for you now, this year?
So the Alliance of Women Directors has been around, I think, since 1997. And the founder, Jennifer Warren, is just an amazing filmmaker. And she began it like knowing that there needed to be more of a place that lifts women directors. We also, I mean, we do focus on women directors and non-binary directors. But the fellowship itself began, the first one was in 2024. And our chairperson, Donna Wheeler, she, also being Latina, she was like, we need to focus on lifting more Latina directors. So she began the fellowship. And the first cohort was the 2024 cohort, and now the 2025 is the second one. And the aim is exactly that, like, you know, getting more visibility, getting more access, you know, whether it be having meetings, or it's also about community building, because I think when you have a community that you can reach out to, if you're in the middle of whatever project or pre-project, to say, hey, I know that you've had this experience, but I haven't. Can you talk to me about how you handled this, or how you prepared for this? And building that community that a lot of times you don't have when you're more of a minority in the industry. You know, you don't have access to those things. So it's a way for us to build community, like have more access, also craft. We have like craft workshops. We have people who are like have been very successful in like directing either for TV or film, and they do these workshops with us. So we get to meet them and talk with them, and it's like panels. Like right now this weekend we have one community event that's featuring our films. Next Tuesday there's another festival featuring our films. They have just special blocks with our films so they can showcase us. So it's been a wonderful, and it's a group of really terrific and strong directors, and a lot of them are writer directors, and it's just been a fantastic journey, and a really great group of women and filmmakers to be with.
Beautiful. And where can we see the films? Like as us, like is it online too? Outside the States, just in the States?
So right now these two events, one which is going to be this Saturday, is in Gardena. There's like a famous, historic, I should say, cinema called the Gardena Cinema, which seats about 800 people. And that's going to be there. And then on Tuesday, it's in downtown LA. So they are local. They are going to be screening them in these venues. But I believe a lot of the films are available online, like some of them, because some of them were released, a couple of years ago, or, or are doing the festival circuit. So it just depends on the film. I'm happy to find out whose is out there and share with you, or share even the list of filmmakers, because we're very proud of each other. And that's one thing, right? The community building is just about, instead of coming from this mindset of that there's a lack of opportunity, it's about finding the opportunity and creating the opportunity by coming together.
Beautiful. And yes, we would love to have that list. We would love to.
Yeah, so I'll do some digging.
And all of you, like, that is beautiful. Because that's what we believe in, the both of us, this uplifting each other, creating opportunities together. So absolutely. Yes, and also like for the show notes, if you have anything like for the association, or would you like love to have that in the show notes, a link that if somebody's interested to learn more about it, that they can click on it and just,
Okay.
So that would be beautiful.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. Yeah. We're very excited for, to just, and some of these filmmakers, like I've known from before, because to be honest, like, circles get smaller as you live in a place, and like you're in the same industry. So we have known each other, and some like I didn't know, but just building friendships as well, just future collaborators, future, it's really nice. So yeah, I'll be happy to share any information I can about it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess one of the final questions, maybe, I want to ask you about your future aspirations in terms of work. Do you want to do more directing, writing, producing altogether? Do you ever consider like do more acting as well, or do you feel that now you're behind the camera, that's where you belong?
Yeah, I think it's important to, one thing I've been thinking about more is like never say never, like you don't know, but I will say at this moment, I'm not really being called to, and I don't mean by others, I mean my own calling for acting isn't there. If like sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, when I'm like older, like an old lady, like maybe I'll want to be back on the stage in the theater, just but I've actually directed theater too, just two plays, and I really enjoyed directing theater. So you never know, but future, more near future is, yes, behind the camera, writing and directing. Producing is a necessity. As I say, I don't look to go out and produce other people's projects. I mean, if it was something amazing, that really calls to me, maybe, but there are quite a few things and stories that I want to tell that I am developing right now. Of course, this graphic novel, as I mentioned before, the end goal is quite big, so it's something that is taking focus and it's something that is ongoing. I'm also I am attached to direct a feature, but it's always about funds. I didn't write it, but I've been attached to the project for a little over a year. It's a very, nice coming of age story. I can't say too much about it, but you can find on IMDb. It's about a ballerina. So it's really nice. That I'm excited about. So hopefully we get some movement on that. But as like the producers are working on that, I'm working on the development of a series that is about a 1920s artist in Mexico. And I'm very excited to really pour myself into that, because I see myself as a writer, director, and that you get more opportunity to do that if you're doing you write and direct a film. And then with TV, it's different. Like you could be the showrunner or the creator. But I do believe that there is a world, and some directors have done it, where you can do both. Like Ava DuVernay, right? She has done film directing and created TV. And to be honest, I'd love to do that. That is what I would love to be doing. And that's part of the reason that, I don't have that hat to be an actor right now. That's not my drive. And it hasn't been for a while. But I'm very passionate about these projects right now. And it takes a lot of effort and time and love and dedication to bring them up and have them, come to life. So that's my focus. And a lot of it is like getting it into the right hands or finding the funds. 'Cause that's true, that's a reality. It is one of those struggles. Another thing that we say a lot in my family, and it's a saying that you say in Spanish, but they say, you already have the no, find the yes, right? So that's another thing I like to keep in mind. Like, people are already going to tell you no. So you already have the no, go find the yes.
I love your
That's
family,
amazing.
by the way. I'm falling in love with your family. I'm like,
Oh, thank you.
do they have more of these on, that we can? That is so
fascinating.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's so
Percy,
fascinating to me that you had to go, not that you had to go, but you've chosen to go through the school, you did the acting just to realize that your true passion lies behind the camera, and that you had this trust in what you feel and you follow through on that path. And now you're creating those beautiful, resonating work that really is something to celebrate.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that, what you just said, I do remember that moment, like your identity, you're like, oh, wait, but I've always been an actor. This is so weird that it even took a moment to say, no, I am a writer and director. But, now it feels the opposite. It feels, it feels funny the other way around. But yeah, it's all, we're all on a journey. We're all on our own path.
And you know what? I want to highlight something about you. First of all, now I know why. Hey, Grandpa. That you are the first woman to reach, because we've had men do that, reach out to and say, hey, can we come on your podcast? And we were like, yeah, definitely, because we love having men on the podcast, because we can learn so much from each other. And that's what we wholeheartedly believe in. Like, it's never about just, women. It's really like, how can we, learn and from each other. And you're the first one that reached out, and you're like, hi, girls. This is who I am. This is my work. And would you be interested in interviewing me? And we were both just like, hell yeah. Yes. And we want more of that. That women, and that's, I think that is also your success. As you said, you already have a no. So go and find the yes. I'm taking that one with me, by the way. Just saying.
Go.
This
It's to be shared. It's to be shared. But thank you. That's surprising. I'm surprised. Yeah, people. Yeah, I had no idea about that. But yeah, it's that mindset. You know, just. I also think you both said like you act or you come from. You know, I have a lot of actor friends, and this is also for me. When I was an actor and solely focusing on that, you're trained to just always ask for permission, which we should. We should be respectful of each other, of course. I'm not saying don't ask for it, but I'm saying in a different way. Like you approach things as, oh, I don't want to bother, or oh, you know, I don't want to be too pushy, or oh, I like you're trained to just kind of be quiet until you need to speak. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
here's your
yes,
script,
I know
do
exactly
this,
what
show
you're
up.
saying.
I mean, it's
And
not
that's
to
in
that
our
degree.
way.
Yeah,
it's in
but
our way, to be honest.
but I think that getting out of that taught me also to see, well, this is a business, you know, and we have to also treat things in this industry as like just communication. First of all, communication is important in life, but just be open and ask, and you know, if someone says no, okay, go to the next door or whatever. But yeah, I think it's also like a shift in that mindset of like, oh, I shouldn't do this, or oh, that's too much. But you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. So I'm glad I'm glad you guys said, cool, yeah, come on.
We were thrilled.
Yes.
We were like, yes, oh my God, I love it. I mean, love your work.
Filmmakers, women doing that, please.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to you know, tell my fellows and my friends and be like, hey, yeah.
Because we love that, and it's inspiring. It really is. It's inspiring someone. And it's like what you said, and I'm going to repeat it one more time, guys. You already have the no. Go and find the yes. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, like for your precious time, for being here. It's looking forward to seeing all your future projects, and congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, and I thank you for having me on. I really do. Thank you.